Right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming early on Saturday morning, this horrible weather, if you want to enjoy the virtual reality and graffiti. So today's event is something that we've been looking forward to for the past 2.5 years. And it happened because we had like a good luck to work with Austrian Cultural Forum. So before we start, Ms. Lioba from Austrian Cultural Forum will tell us a little bit about their motivations and why they decided to work with us on this project. Lioba?
Thank you very much. Dame i gospodo, dragi ljubitelji street arta, and this is where my Serbian ends, I'm very sorry. It's a great pleasure to be here today with you for the conference on virtual reality, heritage and graffiti. As was mentioned, I'm the director of the Austrian Cultural Forum, and together with Street Art Belgrade, we were organizing this event, showcasing projects on how to use cutting-edge technology to preserve, archive, and present street art. Before beginning, there's always this part where you have to thank everyone, and I want to use this opportunity to thank Street Art Belgrade, to thank VRHeritage, and to thank HeapCon, and also Evropska kuća, where we are right now, for hosting us today. I think from what I've heard so far in my discussions and also what I've seen so far from this, it's really, really interesting to see for me how you can use digital tools and to make seemingly fleeting art more permanent and to show it in a different way. And also I think it's a real huge attempt to make it more seen as cultural heritage, which I find very interesting. I'm also very proud that we have some Austrian guests here and contributors, Dr. Gerhard Verhoeven and Stefan Vogrin, and also someone participating from online, Benjamin Wild. And I think if you look at their, what they've done so far and what they do in their life, you can really see how many disciplines connect and how cross-sectorial this project really is. And also, obviously, as the Austrian Cultural Forum, we highlight not only Austrian culture here, but we also want to highlight the connections that there are between Serbia and Austria. And here you can really see the Danube connection between Belgrade and Vienna that kind of comes to fruition through graffiti. As was also mentioned, this has been in the works for some time. So this was actually an idea that was born while my predecessor was here. And I'm very, very grateful that now I can see the fruits of this labor and this idea, and I'm very interested to see what we'll see. And it's also an important part of our Austrian Cultural Forum to highlight contemporary art as well. I think we really try to not only showcase past and like fancy old art, as to say, and Mozart and everything that is quite known about Austria, but we really, really try to show modern, new, inventive things and art and culture. So that being said, I want to thank you all for joining, and I want to wish you a stimulating and creative exchange for today. Thank you very much.
Right, so thank you, Lioba. And I wanted to tell you a couple of words about why we are here today. So we have several words that we put together, not haphazardly. There is a reason for it. So we have virtual reality, we have heritage, and we have graffiti. Most of the times when we talk about these things all together, people usually don't really understand us, because when we talk about graffiti, everybody has their own vision of graffiti. My parents think of graffiti from 1968. Some people think about archaeological graffiti. Other people think about graffiti culture that originated in New York in 1970s. So we talk about the latest one. So the graffiti that has very, very specific visual expression that became an international movement and one of the rare artistic movements that had been lasting for over 50 years, which brings us to this point of heritage. When we talk about art history and history in general, if something had turned 50 years old, there is a possibility to evaluate it and to determine whether that thing, object, or art piece is actually a cultural heritage, which means that for those of us who grew up with graffiti culture and street art, this is now available of becoming a cultural heritage as such. Is it going to become? We'll see about that. But for us researchers is to actually document, follow, and make it available for the future generations to actually assess this huge amount of information and energy and creativity as cultural heritage. And this is what we've been working on. The second thing that is very important is the fact that what we do with graffiti and street art goes into the domain of intangible heritage. And that means that as cultural workers and researchers, we are really not allowed to intervene in these cultures. We are supposed to document it the best we can and then let it be and let them develop in the streets just the way they develop. We shouldn't be a factor in what is happening in the streets. And therefore, our activities, meaning for us as Street Art Belgrade and for our colleagues from Spreken City and from Indigo projects, we are supposed to document the best we can and to let those things be and let them be visible and let them be useful for the future researchers. So we have figured out that putting all of the things that we research into virtual reality gives us maybe the best possible way to experience graffiti and street art without intervening in the streets and yet still having this impression of walking down the streets, or in case of Indigo, down the canal, and experiencing something that is our cultural heritage. So hence, virtual reality, heritage, graffiti. Everything we do is something that could be applied cross-sectionally, like everybody that works with any type of cultural interventions or anybody in other cultural institutions can really use what we do. And this is why we would be very happy to share what we came up with and the way we got to those conclusions and to those products. And it would be really my greatest pleasure to introduce our colleagues today from Vienna. And our first speaker is going to be Herr Tverhoven, head of the Indigo project. I had a pleasure of attending 2 conferences in Vienna. And as I said then, I will say it now, they broke my brain in the best possible way. It's like, as an art historian, I had certain vision how things are supposed to be done, even in virtual reality. And then I did change my modus operandi at a certain point, but after seeing what they have done and what they have produced, meaning all the tools and help that they have actually came up with for us who research graffiti and street art, it really, really changed the way I think about virtual reality and graffiti. So I would like to welcome Hert, and thank you for your presentation.